welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah, and this is the first video of a series that I'm starting called Teach Talk with the Fine Arts. Today I have Marcus Spinks and Dr. Ben Cantrell with me, and I'm super excited about this episode. Marcus, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, like she said, my name is Marcus. I'm currently a percussion major at Glenville State College. It's going to be my fourth year at college so far, and so that's really I plan on majoring in music education.
Cool.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Ben Cantrell. I am starting this year as a visiting assistant professor of percussion at Morehead State University in Morehead, Kentucky. Just moved here just a few weeks ago, so getting ready to get started. I did teach at Concord for a couple years with you guys there, which was a ton of fun. Yeah, I guess it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you consider yourself tech savvy?
I'll say, do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Him go first? Okay. No, I do not consider myself tech savvy at all. Although I do play around with a decent amount of technology, I also do still struggle with learning how certain things work and fixing them whenever it comes to having a problem as well, which is something I've been trying to work on as well. And the problem kind of came to light whenever I tried to take education and technology class. And so that was a whole lot of fun, especially learning how to use Microsoft Excel.
For me, I'm in kind of a different generation than you all. I feel like I used to be kind of tech savvy back in the 90s and early 2000s, which was great to feel that way. These days, of course, everything is moving so quickly, especially with social media. I'm admittedly pretty terrible with social media and trying to keep up. For me, a lot of the times I just work and do that and kind of forget about that. So I used to be, I think for me as a teacher at this point, my tech savviness is basically, what can I do to just kind of survive, which nowadays, of course, is Zoom.
Yeah.
And as, we're finding that out even today, like that can, we can have some troubles with that. So probably the short answer would be, I wish.
Okay, fair enough. So the main reason I wanted to do this episode with you guys is because we were on Skype lessons for a year. And so we kind of had to do the online thing before everyone else did because of COVID. So I wanted to talk about that. Obviously, Marcus and I learned music online, and you, Ben, taught us online. Do you all have any other experiences with that prior to COVID?
Honestly, the sole first time of doing any online teaching was with Dr. Cantrell here, and that was definitely something new that ever occurred, because I never owned a laptop either, though. That was something I couldn't really afford as well. So I do remember having to borrow your laptop, Sarah, in order to have my lessons and such. And so that was the first time I ever really did any online learning, because I always tried to stray away from it because I figured I wouldn't really like it as much, which my opinion's kind of changed over the years, but I still kind of stay strongly to the one-on-one in person as much as I can, as much as I'm allowed to.
For me, I've actually done quite a bit of that nowadays. I also teach part-time at UVA at Wise. And so, kind of the same thing for us at Concord, in Athens and in Wise, geographically, we're kind of sequestered a bit. Right. Yeah. So, agreeing with Marcus, like definitely one-on-one in person. I mean, that's obviously the way to go, but, looking trying to look to the positive side of this, like, had this technology not been available, at that time, like, what would we have done?
Yeah.
And I know that just because I've worked with UVAYs for a long time, because that's where I'm from, when I was growing up, I remember them having the same issue. And I think there was a teacher from, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours away, and they drove in once a month to have their monthly lesson, which, is pretty it's pretty rough. I hope you're prepared for your monthly lesson,
Yeah.
So, but now it's kind of interesting, of course, and kind of the same thing, like, when all of this kind of started and people were freaking out about doing online lessons, like, I wasn't as worried as some colleagues of mine because of the work that we had done together so much.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, we got to go to online. All right. It's not the best situation, but thank goodness we have this option,
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, and I don't know if you all keep up with this, a lot of the percussion companies and music companies are starting to say, okay, this is how things are for a while. Like, let's see what we can do. Like, Steve Weiss is having a ton of stuff going on right now. Mapex is doing a lot of stuff. I think they have like some Fundamental Fridays that they like to do. And Zildjian and like all the big companies are actually starting to do that kind of stuff. And, if I were in college right now, doing a degree, I would maybe take advantage of that. Since everyone is kind of in the same position, like, there's no reason that you can't reach out to your favorite drum set player or your favorite marimba teacher or something like that and just be like, hey, can I just rent you for an hour and let's do some online stuff, or I can record something and send it to you and you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
So there could be ways to take advantage of that kind of thing.
So I know when we did lessons, I ended up purchasing a microphone and audio interface, which helped a lot, I think. And I still use it to this day. Do you all do anything like that now with your current things? And did it help you move to online lessons and what have you?
I was going to say, because my specific scenario, whenever, of course, COVID came about, like back in February or March or something, because I know in March, a lot of the students, of course, went home because we couldn't really keep this large cluster of students on campus. And so in Glenville, it really affected the music department a lot because, personally for us, because around spring semester, our lessons slowed down a lot because we have a huge emphasis on percussion ensemble. Like in the beginning of the spring semester, we have normal frequent lessons, but they're more orientally focused on the music that we're playing in percussion ensemble. And so as the semester progresses, there's a heavier focus on a group practice for the percussion ensemble versus the personal lessons, to where eventually we can devote all our time to ensemble music instead of just the lesson material. Of course, in fall, we make up for that by it's nothing but lessons, of course, and there's heavy focus on individual skill. But whenever COVID came around, we didn't really do any online learning. A lot of the students just went home in the music department, and we just kind of stopped. So whenever they came out with the guidelines and such to fight it, we didn't have any more lessons. We didn't have anything else music related. It just came to a screeching halt, you could say.
Yeah. For us, this past year, I was teaching at Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And, if I was playing in different instruments, like I have a lot of colleagues who are trumpet players, trombone, saxophone, that kind of thing. They were worried about, their focus was kind of on the tone. A lot of their students did buy microphones like that, USB that can plug straight into a laptop or something. They were worried about the tone because that's a big, focus on what they do with wind instruments. For us with the percussion, we didn't have that many instruments to give out. And so, but our school was was pretty decent about getting people access to a laptop if they didn't have one. Maybe not the best quality. And so, but I mean, honestly speaking, like there were a handful of students that we got keyboard instruments to. So, you know, and everybody's got a practice pad so we can do that. But most of the students, it was just a practice pad. You know, which, I mean, as all of us know, you know, if I'm facing a semester's worth of lessons on just a practice pad, like that kind of takes the wind out of my sails a little bit. You know, my hope is that this coming year, and I don't know, Marcus, have they given any kind of plan? Like if you guys have to go online again, is there any kind of plan for you guys to get any kind of instruments or anything?
The plan that we have set up so far is, I also get a lot of the earlier plans because I became an RA recently. So I get a lot of the plans a little bit earlier that are in development. And so the plan so far is that they're allowing students to come back, mainly those who really need the in-person experience. So that would be like the music students, the science, the agricultural students. It's mainly for them, but there's also the online option, which I think most of the classes are going to go online, even though the campus is opening back up. So they're trying to find that balance right now so that way they can have the in-person experiences and still be able to try to keep as much social distancing as they can. As for the music side of things, there's nothing I've heard about that yet, though. That's still being heavily discussed.
Yeah. Well, I know I've seen that some of the companies online, like Musician's Friend and Steve Weiss and stuff like that, they're starting to put packages together where you can get a microphone condenser mic pretty cheaply. You know, which is great because, and I remember with Sarah trying to do the online thing at first without a microphone and just relying on the laptop was rough because especially with percussion, like the amount of sound that comes out with each note is just too much, you know, for the computer to handle. So it starts to distort. So, and at that point, like, it's hard to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, but maybe that's something to, you know, ponder on or think about or talk about, especially for Marcus right now. Like, you know, what's plan B? You know, if we do have to go, which West Virginia hasn't been hit too hard yet, which is great.
Knock on wood.
Fingers crossed.
They're going up though, so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so we'll see how that is.
Yeah, there's been some recent, in Monroe County, of course, there's not really a big population anyways, but we went from about, I think, like 5 cases to 17 just here recently. And so you can start kind of noticing the change of people still not really taking caution and causing it to spread much more than it needs to.
Right.
We had like the annual festival this year in Logan County. I didn't go, but they decided to have it anyway. And like they were giving out masks, but no one was taking them. And then ever since then, our cases have just jumped. So cool. So I'm just kind of curious what kind of software you all used, like Zoom, Skype, whatever. Would you all use for classes?
Whenever, of course, we left in March, I didn't have any video classes, which then again, the only 2 classes at the time I was taking was my English class and my history class. And all that was our history teacher did send us a PowerPoint that came with audio clips of him talking about each subject in each slide. So that way people could kind of take it at their own pace, repeat it if they need to, and always go back onto it as a reference. As for my English class, however, he would just send you information about assignments and stuff And you can obviously, of course, email your professors about questions, but all of my stuff with English was all like document and text based instead of like audios and videos and such. And that was the same way with my class instruction in brass, which we were going to do video instruction, but we were never notified as to what happened with that. The thought was there, and then we never were notified about a further like going on with that. And so, other than that, I typically use, gosh dang it, what's it called? It'll come to my mind eventually. I've never used Zoom. This is honestly my first time using Zoom ever. And so, it's just kind of like pick one, tomato, tomato to me.
Microsoft Teams.
But yeah, that's what it is. Microsoft Teams. Gosh, thank you for that. And the only reason I started using that much was we were supposed to use it, of course, for the class instruction in brass, but of course never got around to actually having a video class. But now I use it for all my RA work because that's where a lot of our information is located whenever it comes to important documents and information.
Cool.
We pretty much used exclusively Zoom. And, you know, I used to try to use Skype for playing. I feel like Zoom works a little better. I actually haven't done the Microsoft Teams yet. You know, I'm not sure why everybody gravitated towards Zoom, but, you know, here we are. You know, I know for us, we also tried to use our university network system. Last year at Winthrop, we used Blackboard.
Yeah.
I don't, what did they, is that what they used at Concord?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do they use at Glenville?
It was all Microsoft Teams. I think it was split in half. It was Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And I'm not sure why it was really split up like that, but it was just more of a preference by the professor.
Well, what about when you log online to get your email and stuff like that? Do you guys use Blackboard for that? Canvas is another program that some colleges use. I don't know. Like when I was getting my doctorate at UNC Greensboro, we had a program called Canvas. It was extremely easy to use, extremely user-friendly. Very quickly, you set up quizzes, and that program will grade them for you. Like, it was great. Blackboard is a little bit tougher to use. There are video options in there. You know, it keeps grades. There's, you know, supposedly it does a lot, but it's really tricky to get through. And so for me, when everything shut down last semester, and again, me just wishing that I was tech savvy, you know, I was used to Canvas, and so when everything shut down and it's like, well, you've got to switch everything over to Blackboard. I said, hey, no problem. I can figure that out easy. It was not. And so so when everything shut down, I sent an email out to everybody. I said, hey, we're just going to move everything to Blackboard. Like, it'll be fine. I spent a week trying to do that. It didn't work out so hot. And so, you know, so I kind of failed at that a little bit. However, you know, besides that, we did use Zoom a lot. When it came to percussion ensemble, and Marcus, you're saying, so for you guys, is your lessons and ensemble like one class, or is it two separate things?
It's two separate ones. But the reason that he kind of formulated it this way. During the fall semester, of course, we have our normal lessons, working on individual skills, working on our weaknesses and such, of course. And come to spring term, these skills that we picked up during the fall semester becomes applicable in the spring semester with percussion ensemble. So that way we can actually solidify our skills in percussion ensemble. And so we take our lesson time. In the beginning of the spring semester, of course, we are given materials to work on things that we need worked on, but it's not as focused as the music for percussion ensemble because he writes all the stuff, of course, and the stuff that we play is a lot of covers. Like, we play Bon Jovi, Chicago, we'll delve into a little bit of country, we'll play stuff from The Greatest Showman. Like, it's just a wide range. And he'll write all the parts as accurate as he can. And, of course, some of that music actually has some pretty tough parts, too. And so, depending on what we worked on as an individual, like, for example, he threw a lot of marimba emphasis onto me to really try to work, really sharpen my skill, I would say, because at that point I had a pretty decent foundation. It was just really getting it to go farther. And so he would hand me a decent amount of marimba parts to where he actually gave me a pretty cool harmonization part for Bohemian Rhapsody, which is one that we were working on this semester. And so it kind of works like that. We build it up and then we just work on sharpening it during the spring semester.
Gotcha. So, for us, what we did when it came to, because we tried to do the online stuff as best as we could when it came to lessons, when it came to percussion ensemble, and, you know, instead of doing some kind of remote thing, because again, we were very limited on instruments, what we did was kind of an interesting project. Each person that was signed up for percussion ensemble would create their own percussion quartet with found objects, you know, anything that they have in their house. And it was only, you know, whatever tempo that you wanted to take, but it was only, I think the time limit was around 50 to 55 seconds, because they could record all 4 parts with a cappella.
Okay.
And post that. So, you know, some people didn't really gravitate towards that, but there were a few really cool things that came out and some very creative stuff that came out. And so part of that was that they had to use Finale or whatever music writing software, you know, that they did. At Concord, did you guys get to use any kind of thing like Finale or MuseScore or anything?
We used MuseScore. I did anyway, because it was free. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that in March and April, Finale, you can, usually it's a 30-day free trial version. They changed it to 60 days so that it would last through the semester.
Oh.
So a lot of people took advantage of that. I'm not sure if that's went back or not. MuseScore is free, which is great. It's very functional, which is good. And then there's, of course, Sibelius, which a lot of percussionists prefer Sibelius, I find. But I think Sibelius may now be some kind of subscription service. So, you know, because Finale, I think the full version is like $400 or $500, you know, right up front. You know, Sibelius as a subscription may be a little easier, you know, whatever that is, $10, $15 a month, something like that. Yeah. So that's really the technology that, you know, the software that we use. When you sit and think about it, it's actually, you know, quite a bit, several different things to try to tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we kind of talked about this, but if you have any further thing to say, as far as next year goes, what do you think it looks like?
I feel as though in my little bubble, the college that I go to, I feel like it wouldn't change as much except for online classes having a heavier presence than what it did before. And by heavy presence, I mean it's definitely, you have to take these online classes versus as a choice, unless, of course, you're in a degree where it needs a lot of in-person experience. And so, of course, this is definitely something that once we get past all this, it'll be weird kind of coming back from this, because like there'll be some people that'll talk about this being the new normal, you could say. But it's just, I kind of just have a different look about it. I think it's been the same. It's just we're trying to be safe, you could say.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to tell because a lot of my colleagues and I have had talks about this, especially lately. You know, a lot of people right now are still trying to figure out whether we can have marching band or not. I would love to do that, but personally, I just don't think it's worth the risk. If I had an extra $10 to bet, I would bet that we're going to do our best and try to open back up, and realize maybe here in about 6 weeks or 2 months or so that maybe that wasn't a great idea. And, we might find ourselves in the same exact situation that we did in March. Everyone's scrambling.
Yeah.
But who knows? Further down the road, I think when we do, maybe in the spring, hopefully, when there's a vaccine and it kind of dies down, which it will. I think this being the new normal, like a lot of people are probably, writing articles about, if I had another $10 to bet, I would say that it will probably get back to normal. Everybody's itching to get back to it. Like everything's shut down right now, but Broadway is going to open back up as soon as it can. Like cruise ships are going to start going out. You're going to start seeing concerts again. Hopefully, I think it'll get back to the way it was. And this year is just holding on and trying to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year's been a wild ride. You could definitely say that much.
So last question. As we know, music education is kind of on the back burner, and it has been for a hot minute. Do you guys think this is going to hinder it anymore?
Well, I think it's just with this, of course, the whole COVID situation coming about. I think they're just kind of looking at us and just going, "Hey, good luck figuring that out and stuff," and just that's it. That's solely it. And it's slightly disappointing, I would say, but that's just also the thing that the education field is just used to, or the education career, because we're always kind of used to, hey, we should do this. This would help us out a lot. Oh yeah, that it doesn't help us out. We don't care that much, and we just kind of get patted on the head, given a Snickers, and walk off.
I really do think that we're going to get back to normal. More or less. It's going to take a bit longer than we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But the way the music scene is always kind of changing and stuff a little bit. But again, stuff like Broadway and like cruise ship gigs and marching band. That stuff has been around for a long time. It's probably going to keep going.
They're doing virtual concerts now too, like live streams. So. Yeah.
But if you, and I, like I saw on the news, I think it was last week, like New Zealand has done especially well handling the pandemic. And as I understand it, they're down to 0 cases or close to 0. And they had an actual orchestra performance like a couple weeks ago with people in attendance and everything. So I really think as soon as we get it wiped out, hopefully that, we'll get back to it. And, orchestras are going to come back. I think the thing that's going to be weird is to see who survives and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, I play with an orchestra in Tennessee, the Johnson City Orchestra. And they're good people. We get better every year. But it's not the, New York Philharmonic or anything. But they have promised that, we're going to get back to it. And they're fundraising and trying to set funds aside and everything. But, everybody's not going to be that lucky. So, but, who knows what's going to happen? Like when there's not that much opportunity around, if a lot of stuff does fold, a lot of new stuff is probably going to come back because, we're still out there wanting to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can only do so much to really guess about it as well. Like a lot of people have a really good idea about what will probably happen, but it's just, of course, you can always get blindsided as well.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what's going to happen, for sure. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I've had a lot of stuff cancel, of course, a lot of gigs cancel. Well, all gigs cancel. Like I was supposed to play at the PAS convention in Colombia, South America this summer.
Oh.
And so, you know, and so when everything started happening and that shut down, and I was pretty bummed out. But you know, this for me, this break is if anything has taught me that, you know, whatever happens, as soon as this stuff is all over with, like, you know, I'm ready to get out there and make stuff happen again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other final thoughts before we close this?
Well, so for Marcus, so how much longer do you have in your degree?
I have a year. I have a year and a half left, a full year of classes, of course, and then the last semester is student teaching. And it's crazy how fast it's kind of going by. I mean, I imagine you guys could also relate that it's just gone, you know. But plans for when I do graduate and stuff is, I don't really have a preference to how a program is. I would say I wouldn't mind if it was a small time program that I have to build up. Honestly, that'd be fun. I think that would be fun. Obviously, it will have its challenges, and I'll probably want to pull my hair out sometimes. But I think that'll also be a fun thing because I can end up building connections and bonds and stuff to where I can have this really solid program in the later years. But if I did happen to come across a program that was also already built up, I also wouldn't mind that either. It's just more of along the lines that just trying to find a place that I'm comfortable with and that I really know how to interact a lot better, you could say.
So for you, that means that you'll be student teaching next fall?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have to do for your degree, do you have to do a senior recital?
Yes, I do have to do a senior recital, and I imagine whenever I come back for this fall semester, we'll go ahead and start discussing about what to do for the senior recital. And I feel like we'll definitely have to talk about a lot of different things because, of course, COVID and stuff, which one of the things we do at Glenville as well is every time any student has a senior recital, it gets a live stream. Like it's put on Facebook and it goes live and stuff. And so my guess is that if I happen to still be able to do a senior recital, but we're still kind of in this situation where we have to keep social distancing and try to not get everyone sick, I feel as though I'll have my senior recital and I'll have my closest friends and family physically there watching, but everyone else will have to watch on a live stream.
Gotcha. So, and for me, I just finished my DMA this past semester, and, you know, things are pretty rough everywhere. For me, my last semester, the plan was to do my recital and, you know, make it a big event. In Greensboro, there's a pretty hip little joint that's an arcade and a bar with a pizza truck outside. That was kind of my post-recital reception was going to be. You know, and I had people planning to drive in from other states and all this stuff. But, you know, what it ended up being was me recording 4 or 5 pieces in my living room by myself. So, and I know that there's, you know, a lot of people that I think kind of did that this semester is just have whatever equipment that you have in your house or somewhere like that and just kind of record it and send it in as a checked box, you know? Mm-hmm. So it could still look like that this year. You know, maybe by springtime things will be a little bit better. You know, but that's also a possibility as well. And I know that at Greensboro, I think a lot of people were taking the option of trying to wait until this semester now to do their recital. But, you know, of course, who knows how that's going to come up.
Exactly.
So, Yeah, but that's what we did. So that, who knows, that may end up being a possibility. You know, or even if you just have to do a recital with just you in the room.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
maybe
it is. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was letting you finish.
Oh, it's okay. Fun with technology. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, and I guess for someone who's, or well, let me rephrase that. It is a bit of a disappointment to not have that live performance aspect whenever it comes to your scene recitals and concerts and stuff. But it's also, we're also lucky, of course, being in the era that we are, that we can still perform our music and still share it with everyone else versus in the era before where we wouldn't have computers or ways to efficiently record it. And it would just be like, hey, I'm going to perform it for this one person, get a grade, you know? So it's like, I think a lot of people should realize that we still have the opportunity to share it with everyone, as many people as we can, and that we shouldn't really be super, super bummed out, I guess you could say. Like, look at it in a brighter light.
Yeah. And because I know, Sarah, you've done some like recording projects and stuff online, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Are you still doing that?
somewhat. I'm migrating more towards like different aspects because YouTube has some pretty stupid copyright laws. So it's like if I try to keep posting drum covers, it's like I can't do all the ones I want to because of the copyright restriction, and it'll get blocked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this series is. It's kind of an expansion.
Yeah. Is it the same on Instagram?
Well, they have some too, but it's like different. It's different.
Yeah, because and again, I'm not good at this stuff, but Instagram, there's a time limit on videos, I think, right? Is it 30 seconds or 60 seconds or?
The in-feed videos are a minute, but if it's longer, it can be posted to IGTV.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I've not even heard of that yet. Okay. Okay.
As a prime example of like the IGTV is, of course, Drumeo has their own Instagram and stuff, and they'll post like, you know, small snippets of whatever, but they'll post some of their lessons that are on YouTube onto Instagram. And basically what IGTV is, it's just a way to view longer videos. I don't think there's really any other way to just describe it, really.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, well, that's good to know. So, you know, maybe those can be some tools, you know, or, you know, you might have to start writing stuff.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
That's fun, actually.
Yeah.
Say that now, and then you're in the process of it, and you're just like, Jesus Christ! Like,
well, I will
pull my hair out.
say that I don't know if you remember this, Ben, but like I was in the process of writing some Christmas arrangements in like 2018, I guess, and I got hurt, and so that stopped it. So this past year, I did the choir concert at school, and so I took those arrangements and made like a medley out of them. So I was still able to use them.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, they may go full later, maybe, but yeah, I had those on my computer, so I just pulled them out, and yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. So, you know, for Marcus, maybe that's like a cool project that you can also do. You know, if you're thinking like senior recital time, like that might be something cool to do too. Yeah, is to play like your own arrangement of something that might be kind of hip.
Yeah,
Which I've already had like a few of this with that. Sorry to butt in on that, but I was gonna say, because up at the college they let us use I think it's called a Pansonic, which you can register different sounds, and of course you can hit different spots on this device, and it emits different sounds, of course. And we also have an electric kit as well that we can use. And some of the ideas that I have were inspired by other peers who will use this Pansonic and the electric kit to emit different sounds and basically make their own song, their own instrumental song. And that was something that I've always wanted to do, and I've been trying to kind of here and there think about what I want to do. I'll sometimes get a keyboard, look at the sounds on there, maybe develop ideas, and sometimes I'll write those ideas down, sometimes I'll record them, and just kind of see where I go from there. It's more about collecting for me right now.
Yeah. Well, and then you were talking about, how the percussion program is at Glenville. What's the name of your professor?
His name is Mr. John McKinney. And he's been there for, I think he was first arrived there in the 70s or the 80s, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's been there forever.
So if he's doing his own arrangements of stuff every semester for the percussion ensemble, like I've never heard of any other program doing that yet. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like something kind of in the vein that we're talking about, but maybe you could take advantage of that. Like, I don't know if, does he do any kind of arranging class at Glenville?
I think it's him and one other professor, which we have a bluegrass professor. And I think she does arrangements class 1. And then the second one, I believe, is him as well. They've been kind of switching it a little bit, so I haven't been able to really keep up with it as much as I would like to. But I'm pretty sure he does teach the second part of the arranging class for the college.
Yeah. So maybe that could be an option as an elective if you don't have, if you don't have time in your schedule, because you said you only have a couple semesters left. If you don't have a time in your schedule, I'm wondering if you could take an additional private lesson with him and just do arranging stuff. Could also be an option.
It'd be worth mentioning, yeah.
It's because like I remember when I was young in high school, I just assumed that every college program was the same. And so it didn't really dawn on me that you pick a place because of the teacher, like what they can get from you. So to me, it sounds like, especially now when we're trying to figure out how to survive virtually, maybe doing your own stuff could be, one of those extra skills that you can just pick up. And it sounds like Mr. McKinney kind of has a lockdown on that compared to a lot of other people, because really, like, I've never heard of another program doing that.
He's mentioned that before too, like, because while we're in the process of like practicing, putting stuff together and stuff, he'll mention that this is one of the rarest things that programs will do and stuff, because we'll have like 5 or 6 marimbas, 2 vibes, a really big cage drum set that was actually given to us by, I think it was the vice president of Pearl. Like, we got a custom-made drum set for the program. We'll have, of course, timpani. We'll have this area called a kitchen, which is all your auxiliary percussion, like Glock, suspended cymbals, like a floor bass drum, because sometimes we'll add a little more oomph to things. We'll have chimes, and we'll have a Latin set as well. Like, those are really standard for everything that we do. And we also have 2 piano players as well, which of course we use electric pianos to pull different sounds and stuff, because we have pieces where sometimes we need a trumpet sound or whatever. All right, we'll pull up something that sounds as close to the real thing as we can, use that, and of course switch back and forth as well. Because we do put a lot of effort to. We also build our own stage. And so we put a lot of time and effort into building what we have and such. And we always sell out on our concerts. And so the people really do seem like they enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. So, since we're talking about like how to survive and what's happening now, maybe that could be something that, if you also want to think of this quarantine time as kind of like a cocoon, like when everything opens back up, like what are you going to look like? I've tried to think of it that way. And so if you could take this skill, maybe you could get into some arranging and stuff and do some publishing,
Yes.
whether it's self-publishing or try to go through some of the big ones like Tap Space or C. Allen is a favorite of mine. And especially trying to learn that skill from McKinney would be pretty invaluable, because I haven't really been through a program or taught anywhere that does that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that would be super cool.
That's kind of how I view it too as well. Like this is like the time period where heavy focus on developing skill more than it is publishing. And that's kind of how I viewed it right off the bat as well, because of course when everything closed down, I sat there, I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And I was like, well, I have this practice pad, I have some sticks, I have a keyboard a little bit, and sometimes I'll have access to a drum kit that my friend has. So I'm just like, okay, what I'll probably do is I even have the Groove Essentials book, like both of them. And so what I've been doing is just, of course, looking through the grooves and developing my weak spots in my kit playing. I've been trying to develop a lot better control in my hands when it comes to rudimental drumming or concert playing in general. And just working on the minute things, because this is honestly an opportunity to really take the time to focus on the minute things instead of trying to really push it to be able to meet a standard or requirement whenever it comes to, like, of course, college lessons and such, you could say.
I'll say, this is just a side note, but MuseScore, it lets you export your arrangements into MIDI files. So you can put the MIDI files into like a DAW. So I use Studio One, and then you can incorporate, like you can assign each part an instrument. So like you can assign it to play as vibraphone or marimba or whatever. And then you can make a backing track for that.
And that's with MuseScore?
Yeah. I'm sure the other paid ones do it as well, but I use MuseScore.
Right.
So that's another option if you're trying to make something. Because that's what I did. I had a xylophone that I played with the backing track.
Okay, because I know that Finale up at the college is a standard. You could say, obviously everyone has their preferences, but Finale is like the go-to with every music student there and with every professor. And I've tried that score, but like I have a Chromebook too, and so it's all mobile apps that you can get for the Chromebook and not actual computer apps, which I think sucks. And so I'm trying to find a different computer as well. Like this is a nice computer for all my schoolwork and stuff, but obviously it also prevents me from doing other things like getting actual music writing software and other applications that I would need as well. So it's like, this laptop's good for school, but after I graduate, it's not going to be up to par with what I need. And so, but I've always wanted to try to play around with Finale, which our piano lab also has computers in there that has Finale in them. And I would occasionally try to open up Finale, try to figure out how to work it. But for anything else, I just kind of typically use MuseScore for the time being.
Well, at Concord, the music tech class, he taught us MuseScore because pretty much everybody had access to it for free. So, like, I mean, I know MuseScore pretty well. I know the keyboard shortcuts and stuff. So, but I understand why people gravitate to Finale or Sibelius and things like that. Okay, are we done?
I believe so.
Alrighty. And that is the end of this episode of Teach Talk for the Fine Arts. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Ben and Marcus, for being on. The series is actually turning into a podcast, which I will link in the description when it is available for Hopefully it'll be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.